Ladies and gentlemen, the Near Fall Network proudly brings to you the modern-day Micah Rasha, the guru of grappling gab, the one, the only, Shooter!
Say hello to the bald guy, and welcome to another episode of Drive-By with Shooter. As always, thanks for stopping in and checking out what I do. Got a huge show. I'm just going to roll right into it. We are coming off of an absolutely historic weekend for professional wrestling, but especially for WWE. Not only did we have an awesome takeover followed by an awesome Royal Rumble, we had the first ever 30-woman over-the-top Royal Rumble featuring the female superstars of WWE. And to top that off, we get the debut of Rowdy Ronda Rousey. I touched on all of this on my Royal Rumble review, and if you haven't checked that out, go ahead and download that. It's on this podcast feed. It's also available on YouTube. So whether you download it through iTunes or Google Play or Podomatic, or you stream it on YouTube and listen to it that way, however you want to do, go check it out. I think it's pretty good stuff. I was really hyped for it because this weekend was awesome. It was a really good weekend for pro wrestling, a really good weekend for WWE wrestling, and we don't always get that. We don't always get it back to back. A lot of times on these big shows, NXT ends up overshadowing what the main roster does, and while I think overall TakeOver was the better show, it didn't overshadow the Rumble because enough awesome things happened to keep us intrigued, keep us talking, and keep us wondering. And like I said, I don't want to rehash everything I talked about in the review, but right off the bat, we got the two people that probably everybody wanted to winning the Royal Rumble. We got Shinsuke on the men's side and Asuka on the women's side. And I don't think there's much to complain when it comes to that. Now, I do want to talk about Ronda Rousey, and I do want to talk about some of the negative feedback that I've seen and just set all this straight. As you know, I call myself the voice of reason. I can't let you sit here and make yourself sound stupid. I can't let people get on Twitter or Facebook or social media and just not know what they're talking about. And, I saw people complaining about Rousey's debut. A lot of people thought that she would debut at number 30 and come in and win this whole thing, or throw Asuka out, and just rumor and innuendo and collusion and everything else that you could think, that this was going to be awesome and horrible all at the same time, however you want to look at it. But she didn't enter the Rumble, which I think is very, very smart. I think the way they brought her in was a good way to introduce her to the crowd, a good way to introduce her to the WWE universe. I've heard people complaining, of course, because that's what people do. They complain. But the biggest complaint I saw was that Ronda Rousey took away Asuka's moment. What the hell are we talking about here, guys? Listen. Are we going to sit here and are we going to say that Ronda Rousey isn't a big deal? Because she frickin' is, okay? But besides that, everyone complained when Ellsworth helped Carmella win the Money in the Bank, and the complaint was he climbed the ladder, he got the briefcase. That's what you always show when you see the highlights from the men's, and we can't do that now, so that moment's taken. And while I still thought that was being slightly ridiculous, I can see what we're going for here. But now we have Asuka win the flippin' Royal Rumble, and somehow her moment's taken from her because Rousey showed up. She didn't get in and throw her over the top rope. She didn't get in and attack her. She didn't make Asuka look weak. As a matter of fact, Asuka made Rousey look kind of weak. Rousey walked in the ring to shake her hand, and Asuka pushed it away or slapped it away, or however you want to look at it. So she pointed to the WrestleMania sign that Asuka just pointed at. Who the hell cares? You know, everyone is complaining about the way that Asuka came, or that Rousey came out and interrupted Asuka's quote-unquote moment, are the same people who would complain if Rousey would have came out at 30 and threw Asuka over the top rope. You can't have it both ways. It's been rumored for a while that Ronda Rousey was entering into professional wrestling as a WWE superstar. It was also rumored for a while that we could see her at the Rumble because they want her at Mania. So which would you rather have? What you was given by Asuka winning the Rumble and Rousey just making an appearance, pointing at the sign and saying she'll see y'all there? Or would you have rather had it the other way? Would you have rather her just come in, throw Asuka over the top rope, go into WrestleMania, first match probably that she'll have on the WWE roster as an active competitor, and win the women's championship from either Alexa Bliss, Charlotte, or whoever she would have chose, or whoever's champion at that time? Is that what we want? Because I don't think I would have liked that, and I'm a Ronda fan, I'm a women's wrestling fan, and I'm a Bliss fan, I'm a Charlotte fan, I'm an Asuka fan. Is that what we would have wanted? Because that's not what I would have wanted. You know, and there's this stuff out here in the interwebs, the tweets from Nia, from Nikki Bella, Sasha Banks going on Busted Open Radio and them asking her about Ronda Rousey and how she feels about that, and her saying, you know, I don't have anything nice to say, so I'm not going to say it. And I just don't know how to put this. Or how to take this, I should say. Are they being told to say things like this? I can't see. This is how I want to break it down, okay? Are some of these women upset that Rousey's there? Maybe, but they're dumb. And I say that with all respect to the women who have busted their ass on this roster to make women's wrestling mean something different. To take it from the era of bra and panties matches and, you know, evening gown matches and mud fights and all this stupid, silly shit, this sexual TNA crap that, don't get me wrong, as a 13, 14-year-old kid, I flippin' loved. But as an adult, you look at it and you think, that is horrendous. These women are athletes and they can do better. And they've shown that. But that's where Rousey comes in. Rousey is a legit top premier athlete, regardless of what the people I argue with on Facebook think. And I'll get into that a little bit later. But Ronda was a UFC bantamweight champion. Ronda is one of the reasons that women's MMA is taken seriously, and now she's stepping into the women's wrestling world. Ronda is a needle mover. Ronda is an eye catcher. Ronda Rousey will make people who don't watch pro wrestling on a normal basis tune in to check out pro wrestling. I am sure, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that Ronda Rousey has some fans who watched her in MMA, watched her in UFC, maybe even followed her through her Olympics and her judo stuff, and who knows, that have no design of ever watching pro wrestling, that will watch because they like Ronda Rousey. That is what we do. We are the WWE, not me. If I was, I'd have a lot more money. But, that being said, this is the WWE. This is WrestleMania. That's what we're talking about. And WrestleMania is a spectacle. WrestleMania is to... We've said this before, but WrestleMania is not for the hardcore fan. Generally, WrestleMania is to please and attract casual fans, to get eyes on the product that are not normally on the product. It's a spectacle. That's why celebrities are there. That's why they have opening musical acts. That's why they do the craziness they do. They have a flippin' Radio Row at WrestleMania. That means there's talk shows there, interviewing these guys, radio shows, podcasts, all this shit. Because it's a big flippin' deal. Okay? That's what WrestleMania is. The idea is to gain more fans, and you have to do things to pull people in. Raw 25 had the highest ratings of a Monday Night Raw since I think 2015. It wasn't because it was a fantastic Raw and there were crazy awesome storylines going on. It's because old fans who maybe haven't tuned in a while heard that Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to be there, heard that D-Generation Next was going to be there, heard that Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, even though Nash no-showed, was going to be there. Heard that Brother Love was going to be there. And they wanted to see this. It's the same idea on a different level when it comes to this and WrestleMania. Ronda Rousey moves the needle just like Brock Lesnar moves the needle. Brock Lesnar is the biggest male star in that company. He's not your favorite wrestler, more than likely. You're probably irritated that he's held that Universal Championship and no one can beat him since last year at WrestleMania, and I totally understand that. But I also know that Brock Lesnar puts asses in the seats, puts money in Vince's pocket, and makes everybody on that roster more flippin' money. And if the women who are complaining on Twitter actually mean what they say, then they have no clue what Ronda Rousey is about to do for them. Because let me break it down this way. Ronda Rousey is about to make every single woman on that roster more famous. Ronda Rousey is going to take whoever she goes against and elevate them. If it's like rumored, possibly a tag match with her and Braun versus Steph and Hunter, or her and The Rock versus Steph and Hunter, which I think is actually a really good idea, then you're just getting a kickoff. You're getting a start. You're going to elevate this. You're going to take this to another level, and it's an attraction thing. But after that, when she's on the roster as a supposed full-time star, I don't know what that means, but that's what they keep saying, and she's on Monday Night Raw, or she's on SmackDown, whatever brand they put her on, and she's beating girls, because she will. Just get that in your head. She will beat everybody on this roster. And she should. But as she's doing this, and you build to these big matches, and her hype builds, and if she takes this like a fish to water, like I think she probably has a chance to do, she's going to make every woman on that roster more important than they've ever been. And that is not a slight to those women. But Ronda Rousey is a legit elite female athlete that has worldwide recognition beyond the scope of pro wrestling. Charlotte Flair is phenomenal. Charlotte Flair is the best woman on the roster pro wrestling wise. Charlotte Flair is Ric Flair's daughter, and she gets that pedigree. Honestly, she gets it, and that is part of why she is where she is. And I, again, not taking anything away from her, because I just said she's the best women's wrestler on that roster because she's the best worker. She's almost the best promo. I think Bliss has her on that, but that's a splitting hairs. Total package, she looks like a super athlete. Ronda Rousey is a super athlete, and she isn't known because of who her dad is in pro wrestling. She's known because of what she did in the Olympics and in the UFC. And as I keep repeating, I'm not trying to insult the women that are on the roster right now, because I love a majority of them, and I like a lot of them. I'm just making the point that if this is legit with Nikki Bella and Nia and Sasha saying negative things about Ronda, and the fact that Ronda's there and might take their spot, then they don't know the business of pro wrestling, and they don't realize how she's going to help them all. She's going to raise all their stock. She's going to make them more money, and she's going to make the women's division of WWE more important than it's ever been ever. Do you think, and this is where I want to bring this around, because I don't want to sit here and I don't want people to think I'm just sitting here bashing the women that are on the roster because Ronda Rousey's there and I loved her and followed her MMA career. That's not it. Because you all know I'm a diehard Alexa Bliss mark. Okay? You all know that. If you hear me talk, you know. If you've watched Slightly Intoxicated Super Casual Female Wrestling Fan, you know that my own wife said, I heart Alexa Bliss, and I do. Okay? And it's not just because she's a pretty face, it's because I like what she does in the ring and on the mic. one of my other favorites from back in the day is Trish Stratus. These women, some of the legends we saw in the Royal Rumble, from the girls that are on the roster now, the legends survived through that era of just horrible, horrible stuff they had the women doing. Okay? All that's combined to take this revolution that turned into an evolution, I guess that's what they're calling it now. But do you think for 1 second that if we were still in the 2-minute Divas matches, paddle on a pole, bra and panties matches, that flippin' Ronda Rousey would be here wrestling for the WWE? Hell no, she wouldn't. She wouldn't be anywhere near it. She wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole unless they said you can come in and fight the men. And that's the bottom line. So what I'm trying to say is I'm bringing this back around to give credit to the legends like Trish and Lita, Ivory, Victoria, some of these women, Molly Holly, the girls we saw in this Royal Rumble that paved a way for the new ones like Paige, Sasha, Bayley, okay, Alexa, Becky, Charlotte, Asuka, Nia. We even pull in the Bella Twins because I know they won the Diva Search or were in the Diva Search, and that's how they got hired, and they were a pretty face. But those girls have been busting their ass to get better and to keep up with this new crop of talent. If it wasn't for all those girls I just named, and I'm sure a bunch of other ones that I did not name, and I apologize, Ronda Rousey wouldn't be here today. So I don't want to hear that I'm talking shit on the current women in favor of Rousey, because that's not what I'm doing. Those women put this revolution in motion, showed that women can have athletic, fantastic matches just like the guys, if not sometimes better than the guys, and that the audience in general wants to see that. We don't want to see bra and panties matches. We don't want to see pudding fights. We don't want to see paddles on a pole match. We want to see these women going full bore and having knockdown, drag out, awesome athletic wrestling matches. And those women did it. The women that are there. The women that were in the Rumble. The 30 women. We'll just say 30. Those 30 women were all partly responsible for building that in one way, shape, or form, hand in hand together in each different era. So it's like the end of the Rumble with Asuka winning. That ended that chapter. Now we start the new. Here's Ronda Rousey. Here's a legit female badass who could kick just about any one of those women's ass in real life. But this isn't real. It's a story, people. And she's taking it to another level. And that's good for everybody on the entire roster, but especially good for the females that she's going to go against. If they don't see that, if as a fan you don't see that, and you think that this woman doesn't deserve to come in and take their spot, that's not what this is about, and you just don't understand. And I feel bad for you, and you should probably re-examine how you look at wrestling, and don't be completely blind by the people you love, which is okay to have fans, or to be fans of certain guys and girls. I get it. I'm there with you. But you have to understand it's a business, and you have to understand how Ronda Rousey is not only best for business, she's best for the women's division right now. Okay guys, I was really excited. I was really fired up for that first segment, and I'm going to wrap the show up today. And, there's a lot of stuff I could continue to talk about. Things that happen on Raw and SmackDown, the updated graphics, the updated music on Raw, the things they are doing on SmackDown with the promos. And I would just leave this quick point. I like that they're doing different things. I like that they're trying things and making changes. I almost feel like we're heading into a new direction for WWE. This could be a false prediction. This could be a lot of hype and not so much delivery, but I'm excited at the idea that we're getting Asuka in the main event of WrestleMania, and we're getting Nakamura and probably Styles in the main event of WrestleMania. But I want to keep talking about the women, guys, because they made history, and it shan't be overshadowed, not on drive-by, that's for damn sure. I got into on my personal Facebook page, an argument. I jumped in a conversation, but a friend of mine who is not a wrestling fan put out a link to the story of Rousey joining the WWE and just, wrote on the post, LOL. And that pissed me off because his reasoning, to his credit, he wasn't trying to attack wrestling per se. He, I guess, found it funny that Ronda Rousey was running away, as he put it, from real fighting to go in WWE where she can't lose unless she says okay, which for one is not, that's such a silly thing to say. And if you're on the outside of wrestling looking in as in the outside of fandom and you say something like that, it just makes you look like an imbecile. And this guy was a friend, and I don't want him to look like an imbecile, so I tried to put points into it, but then these people jumped in that were like supposedly diehard know-it-all MMA guys, and I'm just like, look, I wouldn't even call myself a wrestling encyclopedia, but I know about the sport of pro wrestling. I've never worked in the business, but I've been a fan for all my life. I don't know everything. Even though you guys tune in and listen to me because you think I know everything, I don't know everything. But I know a lot about pro wrestling, and I know a lot about how Vince McMahon's mind works and how he plans things out and books things. Anybody that has 15 plus years of watching this product kind of knows this stuff. Some adapt to it and pick it up better than others and understand the way things work, and some don't, and that's fine. I'm not here to say I'm a better talking head than someone else. That's not my point. My point is when someone attacks someone else for going into pro wrestling, especially someone who's a top level athlete like Ronda Rousey, and then all these quote MMA junkheads jump in and want to discredit her and her MMA career, and that just blows my flipping mind. And as I said, I know a lot about wrestling. I know a good bit about MMA. I'm nowhere near the level on that I am on pro wrestling. I like UFC. I'm not as big into it now as I was, but I was really hardcore into it when the Ultimate Fighter reality show was on TV, and softly into it before that, got real into it, watched all the seasons of that, which then drug me into the fights, and watching the fight nights, and watching this, that, and the other, and then I never bought a UFC pay-per-view, but the first UFC pay-per-view I bought and paid for, instead of going to the bar and watching it for free, when Brock frickin' Lesnar walked in there. Because Brock Lesnar brought new eyes, just like Ronda's going to do to the women's division in WWE. Lesnar brought new eyes to UFC, and that's when UFC's numbers were skyrocketing, and no one wants to give a pro wrestler credit for that now, do they? No, they don't. Just like they don't want to give Ronda Rousey the credit she deserves for what she did for the sport of MMA, and specifically for women in MMA. And I'm just going to put it to bed. I had these arguments telling me how she was overrated. And I even had one guy pipe in and was like, I used to fight MMA and I dated a girl that was one of the top kickboxers in the world and blah, blah, blah. And we all know that she's a disgraceful fighter. And listen, you can say you did this and did that and did the other, and I don't have to believe you, or you can be legit and be telling me the truth, but I don't care. I know for a fact that Ronda Rousey made a difference in women's MMA because it wasn't a thing before her. It was a niche thing that no one really cared about. People like Gina Carano, and let's face it, it's because she was hot. She was good in the octagon, but she was hot. Okay? That's why people watch Gina Carano. She's hotter than Rousey. She's a good-looking girl. That's why people watched. Rousey was a good-looking girl who could kick ass. And I don't care what anyone says. She wasn't a shit fighter in MMA. She was a good fighter who
got beat eventually, and moved on. Now, you can complain about the way she did it. You can complain about the way that she doesn't lose good, and maybe she doesn't lose good. Not everybody loses good. Some people were sore losers because they're so used to winning. I'm not going to fault the girl for that. It was her whole identity. I find it disturbing that people were saying, laugh out loud to the fact that she left a career or changed her career to something she wanted to do for a long time anyway, and they're looking at it as a cowardly way out. A cowardly way out of leaving a sport and a career that she made a huge impact on, and literally said she contemplated suicide after losing. If that's the case, then she needs to get out. That's not a quitting issue. That's not a leaving with your tail tucked between a leg issue. That's a mental health issue. And if it's that big of a deal to her to lose in an MMA fight, then she shouldn't be doing MMA, at least not at the current time, until she gets her shit fixed. Okay? And that's just the way it is. If you don't see that and you're going to make fun of someone and laugh at them for that, then you're not a good human being. It's just the bottom line. And then when you drag wrestling down because you don't know anything about wrestling and you think this is a joke, I got news. And I said this in the argument right off the bat. Her and Vince and the whole company are going to be laughing all the way to the bank. You can write that down and keep that note because it's the truth. Now, still speaking on wrestling, something that I don't think enough people are giving credit for. I've heard a couple. Most specifically, and I have to give a shout out to Nearfall Network's very own King of Nerds. He put a post on it, on our page about it, and he was 100% spot on. I don't even know if I brought it up in the Rumble review, and if I didn't, I apologize. I had a lot going on in trying to get that done. But Ember Moon and the sell job she did in the Royal Rumble. I'm going to expand on this a little bit before I wrap this show up. But Ember Moon in NXT TakeOver Philly gets her arm worked by Shayna Baszler, to the point where it legit, it looks like they're trying to play on an angle that it might even be broken. I don't know, but it was awesome the way that it played out that night, the way that she then got attacked at the end. Ember Moon's selling was off the charts in the NXT TakeOver. And then in the Royal Rumble, she comes out with her arm all bandaged, all taped in some kind of air cast, I think, or something to that effect. And that girl sold the shit out of the fact that she couldn't use that arm in the Royal Rumble. Stayed in the match, had awesome interactions with Asuka and just other superstars on that roster, but good God, the way she sold that arm and kept that going for that whole night. I didn't see NXT TV this week. She probably wasn't on it, but I'd be interested to see if this carries on at least through the next couple tapings, because it would make sense, and I can't see them not doing that the way that she did this so well on the night of the Royal Rumble. And so many people say that selling is a lost art in professional wrestling, and it's hard to argue at some point in time, but sometimes I think it's overlooked. You know, the in-match selling, Dolph Ziggler is one of the best sellers in the business. And you got to make these moves look like they matter. And you got to, at the same time, someone who goes through a war like Ember Moon did shouldn't come out the next night in Royal Rumble and look perfectly fine. Adam Cole did the same thing. Now, he may have legit been hurt because that was an ugly, ugly spot in the match he had with Aleister Black. But that being said, both these talents, but Ember Moon especially, just the way that they carried the injury over from the night before, that's the kind of stuff I want to see. That's the kind of stuff that helps me get excited about pro wrestling and where this company is going. Seeing stuff like that come back and making its way back onto my television makes me excited. Seeing the fact that we have two Japanese stars winning Royal Rumbles back to back, a men's and the first ever women's, two Japanese stars. They made their name across the pond. And now they're getting a shot at the biggest titles in the biggest stage in professional wrestling. I love it. You have to love it. If you had a problem, look, I know I don't like to say something that I heard, even though I had this thought. I think I even tweeted it out. Like, people were complaining about the way the Rumble ended and Rousey came out and this and that. And I tweeted out, like, if you're going to complain about this, like, you're not a fan. And on his podcast this week, Sam Roberts basically said that, like, if you didn't like this Royal Rumble, then just quit being a wrestling fan, because at this point you're hate watching it. That's what Sam Roberts said. You know, the last professional broadcaster. And he's right. He's 100% right. If you didn't enjoy this weekend of wrestling from WWE, even if you said, well, I enjoyed the TakeOver, but I didn't enjoy the Rumble, it sucked, then you're not a fan. There's nothing that company is going to do on the main roster that is going to make you happy, so just stop watching. Because this was an unbelievably amazing weekend of pro wrestling that we just had. I almost have a little bit of a letdown because I want another weekend like that, and we're not getting another pay-per-view until February. And it's not a big one. It's Elimination Chamber, which can be fun. We're getting the first ever women's Elimination Chamber, so keeping that story of the ladies going strong. I like that. But this was such a good weekend that I'm just excited to watch Raw and SmackDown every week now. I hope things keep progressing. I can't wait to see where these storylines are going. I'm excited to go witness Fastlane live in person, and March can't get here fast enough. All I know is this weekend of pro wrestling rejuvenated my love for WWE. And I still am one of these guys who will sit and defend things they do unless they're undefendable. I'm one of these guys who will try to show you, be the voice of reason, and show you what is good in a bad situation. But there was not anything bad this weekend. There were some things that could have been better, but that was just match stuff. That was the way things timed out, and sometimes that's unavoidable. But top to bottom, this weekend of pro wrestling from WWE was the best weekend of pro wrestling from WWE I've seen in a damn long time. The things they changed on Raw and SmackDown have me excited. The people they're putting in the main event at WrestleMania have me excited. And I think this is an awesome time to be a wrestling fan. I've been saying it forever, that we're going to look back on 2016, 17, and now 18 as some of the best years we've seen in a long time. And even though the first couple we might not have had that fond of an outlook on, when you look back, it's going to be flippin' awesome. The women made history. They're still making history, and Ronda Rousey just elevated every single woman on this damn roster. I love when pro wrestling is awesome, because it is some of the best entertainment you can get in this day and age. Guys, I say it every week. It's been real, it's been fun. We'll catch you next time.